What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Once again, it's your boy Cap, aka Capri, and in today's video, man, do I have a treat for y'all. Some of y'all may be triggered by this video, by the way, especially a lot of you sisters. And this is on behalf of why so many Black women, specifically American Black women, are some of the most least desired groups of women in the world, from dating, and not just dating, but dating apps as well. With that being said, here are the clips that I'm about to show you when people from Black men, a few Black men to some Black women, giving their points of view on why. So let me share my screen. Go to my profile, favorites.
What exactly is it that is turning you off of Black women?
I'll say some stuff that should be relatable, at least to the public. It's known on dating apps that Black women are the least attractive of all the races.
You know, I have a rebuttal for that. White people are the majority population that use dating apps.
A lot of women, period, but mostly Black women are talking about they want to be independent. They want to stress on everyone around them. They don't need a man. Most of them will be quiet once they find a man that they want. But Black women find a man they want, and they'll still say, I don't need a man. You can't find a mate when you tell them you don't need him.
And I would say, because I wanted to give my 2 cents like always, one reason why, and this is pertaining to what the brother just stated, how so many women claim to not need a man. I would say one reason why it's due to feminism and due to some Black women's social status. In other words, how some may usually make a certain amount of money, for instance, and the perfect example is as much as 6 figures a year, and feel like they may be too good for the regular 9 to 5 or minimum wage job having brother. Anyways,
if you look at the statistics of dating apps, and you're on dating apps, we're on dating apps, Instagram's a dating app, the men and women who are swiped the least on Tinder are Asian men and Black women. And we have a lot of Black women on this panel. I'm curious as to why you think that Black women are the least desirable demographic for women. I think I understand why Asian men are. Maybe you could ask me afterwards, but I want your opinion on why you think that is. Why are Black women the least swiped demographic for women on dating apps?
Well, prejudice, judgment. One thing I'd like to bring to the table, I don't care what anybody says, but basically, if there's like generational trauma, imagine like what's generational to the people that were causing that trauma. I feel like honestly, there's some people in their lineage, there's just racism. You're going to be an ignorant ass person that's in your family line. That's how you guys lived, and that's how you guys were successful. It carries on. So some people, they just are trained that way.
So
it's just
racism.
Like, yep. If I'm telling you somebody doesn't swipe right on someone solely because of how they look, and it's because they're brown, that's
racism. I will say that I don't believe that it has anything to do with racism, prejudice, or discrimination, any of that.
What do you think it is?
It is because the stereotypes about Black women are born from a place that is true. We can, and I say we as a collective, like we can be aggressive, we can be assertive, we can be masculine, we can basically disregard the family unit. Like, and I'll summarize this, but Thomas Sowell writes about it, that post-slavery and the Reconstruction era and in the Jim Crow era in the 50s, 60s, where it's like the most racist, the Black nuclear family was still intact. Mother, father in the home with all the children. Post the 70s, second wave, third wave, radical feminism that told you have sex with whoever you want and then kill the child after, has given us a sense of like, well, my body's not important, my family's not important, having a man is not important. Our music tells us that. Like, country music's not telling anyone to divorce their husband. It's rap music that's telling us like, get rid of your man, you don't need him. So like,
Facts.
Those stereotypes are born from a true place. It has nothing to do with racism. You know, no offense to anyone who brought it up, but like in the most racist time in America, the Black family was intact. So it's nothing to do with that.
If you look at
This is a warning to fabulous Black women who are in the dating trenches trying to find a young gentleman. Just so you know, you've already been betrayed. You're going to need a new game plan, and history and sociology are two things that can help you. So let's kick off this series with what we already know. And that's the dating apps you use or don't use, the reality shows you love to hate watch, or you don't watch at all, or you love to watch in your cute pajamas with snacks. Let's think about why people want you to get excited when there is a Black Bachelorette, or for the casting of Love is Blind or Love Island USA. How does that actually improve your dating choices, and why should you be getting all excited about that? Usually these are things that make us roll our eyes. Like, we know she's fabulous, we're fabulous. What if you don't care or don't watch those shows? And don't you already have, with technology, all the available options to you anyways? You might think, okay, I have standards, I have my stuff together, and 60% of young men in the US are single. You have the internet, powerful algorithms, all sorts of apps that help you break out of the traditional limitations of the past where you could only date people who are like 35 or 50 miles from you. You're not in the 19th or 20th century, so you're not considered property. And as a Black woman, you're considered now womanly. So technically, you could find and evaluate every eligible guy that you're interested in or who might be interested in you. Nope. And the tools you're using are probably actually working against you. And that is where the betrayal lies. The betrayal that April Williams, a sociologist and a professor, goes into in her book, Not My Type. Dating apps tend to promise two things. It'll either mimic the traditional experience of finding people local to you or running into them. You're just now doing it online. Or it will give you the vast menu of options. People from all over, anywhere you could look. So you think, I'm going to see the full list of what's out there, and I'm going to swipe to the bottom. Of course, you might think and have your preferences about which apps are better than other ones, but you might not realize that sometimes they are within a conglomerate like Match Group. And the data and the information of your profile that you're sharing on one app might actually be shared internally, which means your score and profile information from one app, that history drags with you to another app. This is not a clean break. You're not starting over here. And why does that matter? Well, a lot of these apps use a human-made algorithm to rate you and give you that score I'm talking about. That's an internal score, not something that like other people give you or you give yourself. Your attractiveness as a match is turned into this score before you even swipe with other people or anybody sees your profile. And that score determines who you see and who gets to see you. April Williams points out that they take your physical attributes, these algorithms, and then they optimize bias by pre-sorting who might be into you or who might not be into you. Now, this is something that can build over time, right? So what goes into your score is how long people stay on your profile, if people come across your profile, who sees you and how they interact with it. Now, this is supposedly an attempt to not waste your time with matches that you're not going to find unattractive. Because think about it, as a company, you're going to lose a customer if they keep coming to this app and they see people that they don't find attractive. So they make sure to push profiles that have higher scores. But what does this have to do with fabulous Black women who find that their pickings are getting slimmer and slimmer? The algorithm is not scoring you off of this biological standard that's universal. It's subjective and biased, and it reflects the people who made it. So the closer you get to the definition of peak feminine attractiveness to this algorithm, the more success you have and the higher your score goes up. But what is that peak coded for? Thinness, whiteness, being super symmetrical, and looking blonde. So even if you know you're gorgeous and you know other people find you gorgeous, profile might not get that many views, might not even be pushed. And that's because you're not ticking boxes that it's coded for. True attractiveness is this mixture of biology and cultural socialized norms, things and trends and images we've been socialized to see and respond to. We know this because it differs from culture to culture. And what you find is that people in the same made up racial categories don't always just go for each other when given the chance. Because remember, it's not about genetics. Race is a made up construct. In this book, Williams references Patricia Collins, who says that, look, the ability and the authority to define a beauty norm, it's a form of racialized power. What's key here is that Williams is saying that even as we liberalize and more people, when asked, would you date outside your racial category? And they say yes. Even with all this open-mindedness, the dating apps as they exist continue to entrench and segregate people from each other. She also points out that when you're behind a screen, there's less of this incentive to interrogate your preference or why you feel the way you feel. You're just being served up the same thing. It's easy to roll our eyes when another reality show says, look, we have our first Black woman as the lead, or we have an Asian American woman who's taking over this show. But the reality is that using your own social media and how you present yourself and seeing these mass socialization forms like reality TV put these images up, it's actually an effective way to work against what is just building on itself. These things are creating images of Black attractiveness as normative. And they're doing it in a world where the audiences are using apps that are actually doing the opposite. The algorithms and the dating apps are not opening up the playing field. They're just entrenching sexual racism. As April Williams would say, they're actually automating sexual racism. And these old social ideas and preferences and these ideas of attractiveness, they just don't get examined. Understanding that something is wrong with the algorithm and not you matters. And understanding what's going on out there helps you change your game plan. Creating a plan to beat the system is only something you can do when you recognize what's happening. We will be diving into the rest of this book here, and I will be adding special videos on how to do that to our subscriber community. And as always, there's a link in bio with more essays, my podcast, and the YouTube channel that relates to a lot of these things. I would love to know your experiences on the dating apps, if you swore off of them, if you found.
And once again, I wanted to give my 2 cents and throw in an analogy as well, because I love using analogies. Anyways, imagine going out on a date, fellas, and after exchanging text messages off of a dating app, whichever dating app you was to meet that ideal woman of yours off of, and eventually go out on a date with her. And the main place you were in first initial place both of you had in mind meeting up for the first time or linking up for the first time at happen to be at a restaurant as a part of a dinner date. Because a lot of us, I never stated this, for some of us, well, for some of the single people, by me being a married man, look at going out on dinner dates as the ideal person and get to know more information about that ideal person before becoming serious with them, which is no different from going on a job interview, if you ask me. But I also wanted to state this. Fellas, imagine a lot for all you single brothers who have never been married, never had kids, going out on a date when that special was the woman who you may think may be that special someone, and you eventually go out on a date to get to know her better, go to a restaurant, but it may be either a buffet or a fine dining restaurant. And she happens to have kids, but without you even knowing quite yet. So right during the dinner date, she happened to say not only that she has more than one kid, but for instance, she may have just 2 kids, but by 2 different men, which already, even having 1 kid makes her lower in value in the dating market. But as you get to talking with her, she breaks down why her 2 previous relationships with her kids' fathers, either one of her kids' fathers, may have not worked out. And as she's talking with you, going into full detail, she tells, without coming out and telling you, how both of them happen to be dysfunctional, very toxic men. For instance, and the perfect example will be what happened to the reason it didn't work out when the first kid's father is because he couldn't stay out of jail due to him selling drugs over and over without ever learning his lesson from the first time he got caught selling drugs. The second one may have done some jail time for, I would say, burglary, either burglary or robbery, and not realizing how that just makes her that much more undesirable in the dating market, because she already has quote unquote baggage by having kids from 2 previous relationships. And to make matters even worse, she got pregnant with some of the worst groups of guys she could choose, which makes her more susceptible of having an STD as well. And then what make that usually guy who may go out on a date with her that much more less desire in her, or having that much less interest in her. And just compare that to whereas fellas, or where folks how you may want to go to the grocery store and may have a taste for a can of, I would say, canned fruit. For instance, and a perfect example, a can of Dole pineapples. And you may happen to go to that grocery store only to find your ideal can that you had a craving for of Dole pineapples. But the only problem is that one particular can available. And by the way, Dole is a pretty popular item as far as canned fruit. Anyways, the chances are, as soon as you may see that one canned good that may be damaged, that may have some one big dent in it, how will you feel? Usually, you may have second thoughts about buying that canned good due to having a dent in it, and may consider it as a damaged good. Well, a lot of you sisters, on behalf of a lot of you sisters, a lot of you black women, I would say another reason why you're such a least desired race out of all other races, according to the dating market, as far as the dating market goes, is because of how so many of you have baggage, so to speak. In other words, so many of you come to the dating market already with ready-made families. In other words, when kids usually buy other guys, and not just one guy in most cases, but more than one guy, because you have some women, some black women that may have 6 kids by as many as 4 or 5 different men. In some instances, even 6 different men, which makes you, whether you know it or not, black women, that much more undesirable in the dating market, and makes you that much more of a damaged good, so to speak, as well. Anyways.
They did not tell us that all of that, being my own person and I'm independent, would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man.
This message is for Black women. Does it not bother you that we are continuing to get pregnant by men that will never marry us? Does it not bother you that we have the highest rank in being single mothers in America? Does it not bother you that non-Black women are getting married first, then having children? Does it not bother you that our women are purposely having babies with boyfriends rather than husbands, putting our lives at risk to give birth to babies that were made by men that are not married to us? When I look into the entertainment industry and our society in general, we are the main sex symbols. We are standing in line with other women wanting to know if some rapper would smash or pass us. Not date us, not marry us, but smash us. And to make matters worse, a plethora of these women are in college, they have businesses, some of them are even mothers. Out of all hobbies that you can have, this is what you do on your free time. At this point, we can't even blame society anymore for degrading us. We are perpetually accepting less than the bare minimum. We also have to accept that we're always going to have to work double times or triple times harder to prove ourselves worthy in this society. And that's because of the lack of respect, morals, and dignity that we have instilled in ourselves as Black women. Now, I am aware that I will most likely be called a coon for saying this, because I have noticed that when you say something that makes Black people uncomfortable, that's the first move they make. But one thing that I have learned about Black people and people in general is that they will always misuse terms on purpose so that it can affiliate with their astounding level of sensitivity, and that is none of my business.
Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, go back to StreamYard if you can bear with me. And like always, make sure you smash that like button by letting me know how much you may have liked this video. Make sure you also comment. Don't be afraid to comment either. Make sure you share this video. Last but not least, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'm out.